I received an email from someone asking about a freelance service, and the service promised to manually go through his website and fix accessibility issues, and that each page would pass a wave and an act scan. And in my reply, one of the things I wrote back is keep in mind that you can get scan errors down to zero without truly remediating for accessibility. And he wrote back, so if you can get scan errors down to zero, but it's not remediating, how is that possible? Well, it's possible because scans are only based on rule sets. So they're very powerful, but they're also very simple in that they're only looking for certain things. So scans have these rules that are defined. And if you pass those rules, then no accessibility issues are returned. And if you don't, then you will get errors and or alerts. So just keep in mind that it's only based on automation. So it's only based on what can be caught through automation. And so with a scan, it's looking through your code and it's looking for any scenarios where if this exists, then return an error. But you can code your website in a way so that, and it doesn't necessarily have to be deceptive. It can just mean that you've coded your website in such a way that no rule set is triggered and so no error is returned. And I've got an article, or it's not an article, it's a blog post where someone showed all of the different ways that he could have a completely different website, and yet still get a 100% perfect score on Google Lighthouse. And this is not to dismiss scans, but it's simply to bring awareness to their limitations. Scans are limited in more ways than one, but in this instance, they're limited in the sense that they can only be caught, or they can only flag accessibility issues when their rule sets allow them to. And the number of rule sets that we can have are limited because many accessibility issues simply require manual work. They require someone to manually inspect and find whether or not an accessibility issue exists. So one example of this is with text embedded within an image. Um, a scan is not going to know whether text is embedded with an image. A scan will only know if an image exists. And so if that image exists, then there are additional rule sets that apply, but a scan never even contemplates whether or not what the contents of an image is. So if I have a bunch of text within an image, let's say it's an infographic and there are 100 words embedded within this image. A scan is not going to know that. And a scan is not going to then ask, okay, is this meaning conveyed in the alternative text description? And or is this meaning conveyed in a longer description outside of the alternative text value? It's never going to get to that point. And there are several other examples where automation is just limited in what, even in the accessibility issues that are flagged through automation, they are still limited in what can be caught. And so the concern primarily is going to be false negatives, where a scan clears you, but accessibility issues remain. And so that's what I was getting at in my reply, is that there are ways that we can work around scans so that we aren't triggering their rule sets. So we're not breaking their rules, and so therefore errors are not returned. But it doesn't mean that we've made our website accessible. It simply means that we've found what errors are being returned, and we've worked our way around those errors. So I think that's important. I think it was a great question, and um, it's one that more people need to be aware of, because many services are selling this, right? Like they're selling this 100% score, which undoubtedly, like, there is some benefit to that. There's definitely benefit to having a perfect score, but it's important to know that we can have a perfect score and yet have a completely inaccessible website. And I'll link to this article in the description, and the article does a really good job of easy, like it just shows that it's easy to work around these rule sets and still get a perfect score. And it's again, this doesn't dismiss scans. They're very helpful, but it's just important to know their limitations. And when you're aware of their limitations, then you have better context for how to view them and how to use them and how to understand the different services that are being offered.